New this week from Marvel Comics, The Immortal Thor, issue number 19, written by Ewing, art by a lot of people. Also, welcome to the year anniversary of videos on this channel. We've done 84 plus reviews on this channel, as well as some funny videos. Thank you for sticking along all this time, which also kind of coincides with the banning of this app, allegedly, but maybe there's hope on the horizon. We don't know. The Immortal Thor is the latest premier legacy superhero tale from one of Marvel Comics' greatest wordsmiths, Ewing. Issue number 19 is actually legacy issue number 780 for the Thor series, which Ewing takes as an opportunity to investigate the goings-on of the vast amount of characters assembled in this series to date, utilizing the diverse talents of just about every single major artist in the comic book industry to do so. It also feels like an all-too-fitting moment to catch new readers up with this sprawling, singular, imaginative new series for the Mighty Thunderer. What does immortal actually connotate in this new context, and how does it relate to Ewing's previously celebrated title, The Immortal Hulk? Warning, from here on out, minor plot spoilers ahead. Well, much like The Immortal Hulk, this series is centered on a central, pervading, dramatic question. In the case of The Immortal Hulk, it seemed to be, is there a reason for man's continual suffering? Or I think you could also make the case for, what does it take to be a good person in a world that is seemingly unjust and evil? Which are precisely the fitting, revealing questions haunting the character of the Hulk since his inception. Now in The Immortal Thor, Ewing has been ruminating on an equally appropriate dramatic question for Thor, being, what details or aspects in the story of your life truly define who you are? This question has been explored in layered metaphorical context, as well as the literal, with Thor's story being particularly important and sustaining as a god of myth, first and foremost. Whether it be Thor's inciting incident in this immortal saga, battling with his ancient, more rageful elder god counterpart, the Utgard Thor, or his venture into the limbo-like Andalong with his scattered siblings now reunited to a singular purpose, Immortal Thor has been unpacking and redefining who the character of Thor is as an individual, as a hero, as a god, and as a king. Undeniably eloquent and entertaining manner that only Ewing could deliver. This series has been driven in a much less linear fashion when compared to The Immortal Hulk, with the chapters of The Immortal Thor feeling, well, like chapters in a fable concerning the life and times of Thor and the many-faceted gods of Asgard. That isn't to say there isn't a coherent plot, just an atypical one, with some arcs ending in the middle of an issue before layering the introduction of a new one. The fallout and aftermath of an arc coming back up issues later as opposed to following suit in a more traditional comic book fashion. The cascading structure contributes to making the Immortal Thor feel even more overtly like an ancient folktale taking place in the modern comic book era that we're only glimpsing pieces of. Additionally, after the fashion of The Immortal Hulk, Ewing has been able to include numerous unique and unexpected characters and team-ups into this audacious story, which are ultimately farther-reaching celebrations of classic comic book history at large, implemented so effectively that they become iconic moments for these characters, most of which have been out of the spotlight for decades. In The Immortal Hulk, Ewing was able to revitalize and recontextualize characters like Zemnu, UFOs, the Absorbing Man, Titania. I mean, they were main characters, especially Rick Jones. In The Immortal Thor, Ewing has given the spotlight to equally niche characters, such as Grey Gargoyle, the Radioactive Man, Hyde, and of course Thor's long-disputed earthly mother, Gaia. Throughout the series thus far, Ewing has pitted Thor against many sinister physical threats, but it is clear that his true intention in this narrative is to force Thor to confront more esoteric, complex concepts that are representative of the forces beyond Thor's control. As I mentioned earlier, in the first arc of our tale, Thor is confronted with the re-emerging old primordial gods of the universe, loose from their ancient confines by Thor's own mother, Gaia, in order to destroy these selfish and arrogant new gods that have not done their part in protecting the Earth and other worlds. In our following arc, Ewing once again pits competing ideas against one another, when Thor's literal story becomes debased and altered by the Roxxon Corporation with the help of the Enchantress, setting the antiquated concept of myth versus the modern reality of content and advertising. What's more, Ewing has only doubled down on these parallel parable subjects in later issues. presenting them in entirely different contexts. For instance, in the issues following Thor's adventure with Hercules, we see a possible fate for new gods that have become defunct or had their stories taken out of their control, represented by the Greek gods who have now been relegated to an endless void after trying to re-establish their tyrannical rule in the Guardians of the Galaxy comics, also written by Al Ewing. Leave it to Al Ewing to bring back and remember everything. Additionally, another issue that doubles down on the old versus new gods takes us to the past, where a young Loki and young Thor face the trials of the Utgard Loki, whose reality-bending abilities make the famous antics of our modern Skald Loki look like child's play by comparison. While the Immortal Thor may not be as immediately gripping or structurally accessible as the Immortal Hulk, the two series share an earnest, demonstrable love for the legacy of the characters they are exploring, most importantly furthering with an elevated, specific, thematic investigation into the essence of what makes these characters iconic. Let's talk more specifically about the latest epic installment of this series, which means spoilers ahead.